So the Ethereum merge is coming in a matter of days, and the crypto market is seeing somewhat of a relief rally. Today we're going to talk a bit about Bitcoin versus Ethereum after the merge. And given that prices are still low, which one would be a better bet to stack in 2022? We'll be covering several key criteria and coming to a conclusion on each of those criteria depending on what your beliefs are. So let's jump right into it. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Baking Analyst channel. On this channel we cover everything from cryptocurrencies to economics to personal finance with a focus on decentralized finance. So if that sounds like something that interests you, do consider leaving a like and subscribing to this channel. If you're completely new to the world of DeFi, I also have an online course that you can access using the link down below. Use a free trial of Skillshare, cancel at any time, and it will come at no cost to you whatsoever. So with that shilling out the way, let's jump right into today's video. So as we mentioned, we are talking about Bitcoin versus Ethereum in the context of the merge, which is expected to happen in the coming week. Now, what the merge is essentially is a step towards Ethereum 2.0. You've probably seen this on various crypto publications and channels. This step towards 2.0 basically takes us from the proof of work Ethereum or ETH 1.0 and merges it with the ETH 2.0 beacon chain, which has existed for some time now. Basically, people have been staking their Ethereum and locking it up in this beacon chain in exchange for yield. And finally, at long last, we are getting that kind of merge into the proof of stake state of Ethereum. So the three criteria that we will be using today will be introduced here. First, we'll be looking at the regulatory threat and ESG concerns. Now, everyone knows that recently Tornado Cash just got sanctioned, and basically crypto regulation is something that governments around the world are looking very closely at. And as to why we're covering ESG on this channel, well, we'll cover that in just a bit. The second criteria will be that of tokenomics, whether the token is inflationary or deflationary. And finally, we will be having a look at decentralization or ideology. This is because a lot of people invest in cryptocurrencies, especially retail investors invest in cryptocurrencies because of the ideology of being self-sovereign, having your own keys, and being able to control your own funds and resources without anyone being able to seize them from you. So let's have a look at the first criteria, regulatory or ESG. So it comes without any surprise that we have had more crypto regulation being tabled, especially in the wake of the Terra Luna collapse, where billions of dollars was lost. And then we also have the issue of ESG, environmental, social, and governance concerns. Now, of course, in this case, the key argument is that of environmental issues. Social issues, well, that really depends on who you're asking, because obviously governments might not want something that's out of their control, whereas it might be good for us normal people who just want to have full control over our funds. And of course, governance probably doesn't exist in this instance, given that everything is supposedly decentralized. So let's talk a bit about the whole ESG debate and how this could lead to a potential regulatory threat. So as we've seen, there has been a lot of debate about energy usage, particularly Bitcoin's energy usage. And in this case, Ethereum's shift to proof of stake, where the blockchain is validated by people who stake their Ethereum, will lead to an energy consumption decrease of 99.95%. So this would indicate that Ethereum would be seen as the ESG friendly option since it's using so much less energy. Why this could be seen as a good thing is that there could potentially be regulations coming that try to mitigate the environmental impacts of proof of work blockchains, such as the mining of Bitcoin. So as we saw, there was a bit of FUD earlier this week that the White House was planning to ban proof of work mining. Well, this is not exactly the case. However, the mere consideration that there is a cost to this whole proof of work thing and Bitcoin mining suggests that in the future there could be tighter restrictions on what energy sources, for instance, could be used for proof of work, and in some countries even a full outright ban. So this could be a risk that could impact people who are investing in Bitcoin, whereas this will no longer be the case for Ethereum. So that is one point in Ethereum's favor. And the second issue about ESG is that this could really bring institutions into the space, because as we like to believe that, we are decentralized, we don't really need all these regulations. Well, that might be true that decentralized networks and blockchains exist in a way that is not controllable by any one individual government. However, institutions can be seized, they can be fined, and they can be punished because they operate in specific jurisdictions. Furthermore, institutions are gradually moving towards ESG-based investing with, of course, up to 79% in the past 2 years, according to this article from NASDAQ, pointing out that institutions are actually moving towards ESG as a key focus, and that if they were to look at the top few cryptos, you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, you have Ripple, well, what would you choose? You wouldn't choose Bitcoin, you might choose Ethereum over Bitcoin. So this could be a great catalyst for this cryptocurrency. So from a regulatory and ESG perspective, Ethereum does seem to come out on top here. Now, the next criteria we'll be looking at is that of tokenomics. As we all know, Bitcoin has a fixed supply and the next halving is in 2024. So it is a relatively hard asset. In fact, one of the hardest assets there are out there. Supply cannot be inflated, and we're getting really, really close to the point where all Bitcoin is going to be mined. So basically, most of the potential circulating supply is already out there, and a great portion of it is already lost. So in this regard, Bitcoin does have some sound tokenomics to it. However, Ethereum is no slouch either, because with this merge, with this ETH 2.0 shift, issuance is actually going to be cut by over 90%. And with EIP 1559 being in place and some Ethereum being burnt as transaction fees, are we going to see Ethereum become deflationary? Which means that over time it actually becomes even more scarce. In this case, I'm going to call it draw because both tokens seem to have pretty sound economics, and of course Ethereum does have a really good use case in the form of smart contracts. Not to mention there's also likely going to be some staking that is going on. The final criteria we'll be looking at is decentralization and ideology. Now this is a big one for a lot of Bitcoin maxis, and it could also be a big one for people who entered cryptocurrency to begin with. So the issue of ideology and decentralization comes down to the benefits and costs of the shift to proof of stake. What I mean by this is that Bitcoin clearly uses a proof of work mechanism, so it requires people to solve these mathematical puzzles using computing power, and arguably this makes it more difficult for institutions with a ton of money to simply come in and buy a lot of tokens, stake them on a network, and basically be able to control that entire network because they hold most of the validator slots. Whereas Ethereum is, of course, shifting towards proof of stake. And we do, of course, also see institutions already taking a keen interest in participating in this kind of staking industry, with none other than JP Morgan saying that Ethereum upgrades could actually jumpstart an industry, the staking industry for institutions, that could be worth $40 billion. Now, of course, this is a credible argument because from the institution's perspective, not only will they benefit from stake control over an arbitrary network, they will also be able to participate in potentially one of the safest forms of yield farming, which is, of course, staking on a major blockchain in order to validate it in exchange for staking rewards. Of course, this kind of yield farming is relatively low return when it comes to us degens, with about 4% APR. Nonetheless, this prospect of institutional staking does bring about the risk that Ethereum or proof-of-stake blockchains might become more centralized and go against the ideologies of many investors. So what do you think? Is this Ethereum merge something that you're excited for? Are you going to buy some ETH, put it on a chain, and hopefully get some free fork tokens from ETH POW? Or are you avoiding this altogether thanks to potential risks? Feel free to let us know in the comments down below. All in all, I hope this video has been informative and useful. If you liked it, do leave a like and consider subscribing to this channel. And with that being said, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.